All right, so what you're seeing here is me using my chisel to initiate the cut for my truss rod channel. I marked out where I wanted the truss rod to go, and then I used my ruler clamped down to my neck blank, which also was clamping my neck blank down to my work surface, and just used the chisel and kept it riding right up against the edge of the ruler. I also scored the edges of where the truss rod was going to be to try and prevent tear out as much as possible. This is just another angle of me doing more of the same thing. At this point, I've cut deep enough into the neck that I didn't really need the ruler anymore. You can see I'm using my big chisel along the sides to clean up the edges and just trying to cut that slot a little bit deeper. And after a little bit of doing this, I realized that I was not going to be able to get a clean bottom. So I had to come up with a better way to do this. This here is my poor man's router plane. I just spent the last couple of days or so. I know you might think, the last couple of days? What the hell were you doing the last couple of days? Part of that was letting the finish dry and doing all that, because stupidly, I used pine for this, softwood. You should definitely make your tools out of hardwood. If you're going to make tools, do it right and do it with wood that's actually, going to stand up to the use and abuse of being a tool. I did not do that because I'm an idiot, but much to my surprise, it actually works really, really well. Fantastically, actually. Better than I hoped for. So, I'm not sure how well it picks up, but initially, what I did was I took my ruler and I clamped it to the top of the neck blank, and then just went in with that same chisel and sort of started the channel. So it was like super choppy and like, just not even. And then it was like, I am not going to be able to get this even by hand. I need something to be able to hold the chisel sturdy. And router planes are expensive. That was free. That was free. I had a piece of scrap pine, 2x8 laying around, cut it to size, glued two pieces together. I drilled a hole through the middle of it. That was how I got the hole that the chisel is sticking out of. I just drilled a hole, and then I used the chisel to clean it up and make it sort of square, and made a little wedge. And here we are. And then I leveled it, put some finish on it, and it's working really well, which you'll see in just a second. So here you can see me trying out my router plane. It was a little bit tricky at first. I had a little bit of trouble trying to keep the chisel from moving and trying to dial in how deep I actually wanted it so that I could get a decent cut that would leave a smooth bottom, but that wasn't so deep that it was really hard for me to move it across the channel. Took me a little bit of dialing in. Took me a rather long time to do this. I'm going to let you listen to a little bit of it just so you can hear what it sounds like. Because if you're anything like me, the sound of hand tools carving wood is very satisfying. So I'll definitely let you listen to that in a second. But yeah, once I kind of messed with the wedge that's holding the chisel in and figuring out the depth and all that, it started to go a lot faster. At first, it was really tough. It was giving me a lot of trouble. But as time went on and I got used to using it, it started working really well for me. Now, inevitably, because I made my router plane by hand, the chisel does not stick out perfectly even, so I had to make sure that I came from both sides to compensate for any unevenness in how my chisel was sticking out. And after I got it to the depth I wanted, going from both directions with the chisel, I went in, just I pulled the chisel out of the router plane and I used that without any sort of guide and tidied it up just a little bit more to make sure that it really was flat and that there was no high spots or anything funky that was gonna make me upset in my head because I knew it probably was not going to affect the overall functionality of the truss rod, but I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I try to get everything as nice as I can just for my own sake, even though no one will ever see it or know about it besides me. And here I'm just double checking the depth, making sure that I haven't gone too far, and making sure that it's the same depth all the way across from end to end, seeing how much more I have left to go.
So this is about 0.35, and right now my slot is about 0.27. So I still got a little ways to go. That was about 10 thousandths depth. Now at about 2.8, or 0.28, excuse me. So the top portion of the truss rod where the adjustment nut is a little bit wider than the rest of the truss rod. So here I'm just making that last inch and a half or so of the truss rod slot a little bit wider to allow it to fit perfectly into the slot. Now I will have to drill from the headstock side to, because I want a solid strip of wood underneath the nut, and the end of the truss rod is going to stick out through that. So I have to drill through that, but I have to cut the angle of the headstock first.